Hi, welcome to today's Fall of Anne Boleyn video. I'm doing these videos every day at the moment, counting down to, of course, the 19th of May, the anniversary of Queen Anne Boleyn's execution in 1536. Now, of course, today is the 12th of May, so I'm taking you back to the 12th of May 1536, when Sir Henry Norris, Henry VIII's groom of the stool and a good friend of the king as well, Sir Francis Weston, a gentleman of the King's Privy Chamber, William Brereton, who was a very powerful and influential man in North Wales and Cheshire, and Mark Smeaton, a court musician. These men were taken by barge on the River Thames from their prison at the Tower of London to Westminster Hall to stand trial for high treason. Now, this was just a day after the Kent grand jury had met, 2 days after the Middlesex grand jury had met. Those grand juries had drawn up the indictments of charges. And it was also only 8 days after the arrests of Francis Weston and William Brereton. So things had moved incredibly quickly. Now, these 4 men were tried by a special commission of Oyer and Turner, which, if you remember, had been set up by Lord Chancellor Thomas Audley on the 24th of April. Whereas Queen Anne Boleyn and her brother George Boleyn, Lord Rochford, as members of the aristocracy, were entitled to be tried in the court of the Lord High Steward of England by a jury of their peers, so a jury of people of their status. But these men were not of that status, so they were tried by this commission of Oyer and Turner. Oyer and Turner, I explained back on the 24th of April, comes from the French to hear and to determine. Now, these men's hearts must have sunk when they saw the men who had been appointed to the commission, when they walked into Westminster Hall and saw who would be sort of sitting in judgment on them. Now, although the jury included Thomas Boleyn, Earl of Wiltshire, someone who certainly wouldn't have wanted to have been there and certainly would not benefit from these men being found guilty, when of course it would prejudice the trial of his son and daughter. The commission also included men who owed Thomas Cromwell or King Henry VIII a favour, and those who would love to see the Boleyn faction spectacularly brought down. It was definitely what could be described as a hostile jury, and I think there was also a member of the commission who, owed money to one of the men. Well, that's it. It would be of benefit to that man if the man he owed money to fell and was executed, wouldn't it? Unsurprisingly, this rather hostile jury returned a verdict of guilty, and all 4 men were sentenced as traitors to be hanged, drawn and quartered, which was of course the usual punishment for high treason, and for this to be carried out at Tyburn. Eustace Chapuis, the imperial ambassador, reported to his master Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, that the men, quote, were condemned upon presumption and certain indications without valid proof or confession. And I find that a very interesting view, because this was a man, Eustace Chapuis, who loathed Queen Anne Boleyn, who was a big supporter of Catherine of Aragon. And this is a man who's reporting that, these men, it was just presumption. There wasn't valid proof or confession. But as I said yesterday, I explained a bit how Tudor justice worked. And, the onus was on you to prove that you were innocent, rather than you being presumed innocent, you were presumed guilty, and that you wouldn't have known the details of what you were being charged with before you went in front of a jury or commission. So, you know, people going into trials in the Tudor period were at a serious disadvantage, and I truly believe that none of these people had any hope of justice. Now, I'll give you a link to find out about the members of the jury, the commission that tried these men, just so you can kind of see just how hostile this commission was to these men. But also on this very same day in 1536, Thomas Howard, 3rd Duke of Norfolk, who was of course maternal uncle of Anne and George Boleyn because he was the brother of their mother Elizabeth Howard, Elizabeth Boleyn. He was appointed Lord High Steward of England in readiness for presiding as Lord President over their trials. So this man would be presiding over the trials of his niece and nephew, Queen Anne Boleyn and George Boleyn, Lord Rochford. How very strange and how very inappropriate. So that's what happened on this day in 1536 in the Fall of Anne Boleyn. Events are still moving incredibly fast. I do hope you're enjoying these videos rather than enjoying the content and, you know, these awful events, but I do hope you're enjoying, you know, learning more about them, and please give the video a like if you have enjoyed it. You can subscribe to this channel by going round about there. And you can also hit the bell to be notified as videos go live. But rest assured, I will be back tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.